UFC 308, Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria goes down this weekend. That's right, it is officially fight week. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. This main event between Ilia Topuria and Holloway, this has been what John Jones is to Dana White. Everywhere I go, man, I'm going to birthday parties, I'm going to celebrations, and people are talking about this and that, and I'm like, but do you know that UFC 308's coming up, man? Do you know that Topuria versus Holloway is going down? Listen, all jokes aside, this is one of the greatest title fight matchups in UFC history, right? I know a lot of people are talking about of the year, featherweight division history. In my opinion, of all time. Stylistically, this just has the makings to become an incredible all-time matchup between Topuria and Holloway. But not only that, this card is absolutely stacked from top to bottom, right? We did lose Sealgan versus Alexander Volkov. Unfortunately, that got pushed back to later in the year. This is a stacked card from top to bottom, and if it lives up to what it looks like on paper, this could be the top card of the year, even rivaling UFC 300, which was supposed to be the greatest night in combat sports history, which it was all right, right? I think it was decent, but we have a lot of great matchups on here, a lot of fights where I'm going to be sitting there shaking, so nervous, like Chimaev versus Whittaker, which we'll get to. Time codes are down below. Let's get into this. I'm going to break down every single fight on the card and give my prediction. Starting with our very first fight of the evening between Bruno Silva and Ismail Naurdiev. I'm going Ismail Naurdiev to get this one done. Look, I think that Ismail, he's a guy that he's kind of right on the cusp of something kind of starting for this guy inside the UFC. Look, he's got a pretty well-rounded skill set. He's good on the feet. He's got pretty good grappling as well. And coming into a fight with Bruno Silva, look, let's call it what it is. If Bruno Silva didn't have somehow survived Poatan the way he did, at 185 back when Poatan was a middleweight, I don't think we would be looking at Bruno Silva the way we do in today's day and age at this time, right? Because Bruno Silva, he's a decent guy, right? He's got decent striking, decent grappling, and he's got a well-rounded skill set, and he is a solid fighter. But he doesn't have that X factor, right? And I think that he's kind of just a guy here in the way of Ismail. And why I think Ismail, he is very beatable. We've seen him get finished in the past. I think that his overall skill set, the way he can blend the striking with the grappling, has the submissions in his back pocket. I think the way that he mixes things together is going to be a little bit troubling for Bruno. And keep in mind, Bruno's had some difficult moments, man. Outside of the Poatan fight where he took a lot of damage, all the eye pokes from Chris Weidman. Who knows if he can still see from that? I mean, the amount of eye pokes that he took for Chris Weidman has to do something to your eyeballs to get poked that many times in the eye. But look, in all seriousness, I just don't think Bruno Silva's skill set is troubling enough. I think Ismail is a little too well-rounded here. I think Ismail is able to get this one done. I'm going to go by decision. Moving on. We have Aslan and Rafael Cerqueira. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm going Aslan to win this fight. Look, I think Rafael, he's undefeated coming into this. I think that this is a nice step up for him against Aslan. And Aslan's one of those guys where every time you watch him, you're kind of just waiting for the KO, right? Outside of on the local scene getting submitted by Anton Turkalj, where he was able to right the wrong when they matched up again in the UFC. He's just a powerhouse, man. He's a big dude. He likes to push the pace. He moves forward. He's got power in everything that he does. He's not a guy that's just throwing strikes to throw strikes. When he's throwing to put you out. And I think that Rafael coming in with the confidence, I think that this is a nice step up for him. And one where we see this, a guy that is undefeated, they're kind of on the rise, that things are starting to go their way, and they get matched up against a guy who's had their feet inside the UFC for a little while now. And a guy like Aslan, he's dangerous. And whenever you're in there with a power puncher like him, all it takes is one shot. I just can't pick Rafael to win this fight. I think Aslan is that good. I think he's an exciting guy to watch. I think Aslan's able to get this one done. Moving on, we have Rinat versus Carlos Leal. I'm going Rinat to get this one done. Look, I think when you talk about Rinat, this is one of those guys that when you watch him fight, it just feels like we're looking at someone who's going to be possibly contending for a title in the near future here in the UFC. Because when you talk about Rinat, it's the skill set, right? He's got everything you're looking for. He's well-rounded. He's very good, and the finishing ability is there. And coming into this, look, Carlos Leal, this seems like a big step up for me, right? For Carlos Leal. And while I think Carlos, he is dangerous. He's got good submissions. He's got a good skill set. I just think Rinat is just a notch up. I think he's a notch up, and I think that he makes this actually look rather easy. I know early on, Carlos, he can be dangerous, but I think as the fight starts to play out, as Rinat starts to kind of mix things together and keep Carlos guessing, guessing. I think Rinat is able to control him. I think that he's able to kind of eventually, once he wears on the gas tank of Carlos, he's able to do whatever he wants. I think Rinat is able to get this one done. Moving on, we have Farid Basharat versus Victor Hugo. This is an outstanding matchup, right? Out of the fights on this card so far, this is like the first one that we get to, and I'm like, this is a fun fight here. Because with Farid Basharat, this is a guy that he's undefeated. He's a little bit of a decision machine, right? We got to call that out there, but he is a skilled guy. He's got good grappling, good submissions, decent on the feet. And Victor Hugo, kind of the same thing, right? A guy that's dangerous on the ground, got good submissions, decent striking as well. I think that Farid, he might be in a little bit of trouble in this matchup. I am going to pick him to get this one done by decision. I don't think I can pick him for a finish here. But what concerns me on the side of Farid is he loves to play around with the grappling. Whenever you're playing around with Victor Hugo on the ground, all it takes is for him to grab a limb, grab your neck and possibly submit you. So it's going to be very dangerous, but I think Farid is able to weather some storms. He's going to have to fight out of some submissions here. I believe he is going to be able to do that. And when you talk about the Basharats, man, they're solid. They're good fighters. They got confidence. They're starting to really find their stride, especially Farid here. I think he's able to go in there and win a decision over Victor Hugo. But like I said, I expect this to be a dogfight. I expect this to be a close fight to where when we go to the judges' scorecards, we have mixed opinions. There's some people that are like, I think Victor won. I think Farid won. Or we're looking at a possible controversial decision here. But I think Farid, the way that he will win on control time, I think that he will threaten with some submissions of his own. Maybe he's able to submit Victor. I don't know how likely that is. But on the feet, I think it can be hit or miss here. I think Farid is able to win a decision, but this is a great matchup. Moving on, we have Kennedy Nzechukwu moving up to heavyweight to take on Chris Barnett. It was supposed to be Tafa. Look, this is a fun fight here because when you talk about Chris Barnett, he's had some fights canceled. He's been away for a couple years now. He's been away for some time. He is one of those heavyweights when you watch him. He's entertaining, man. He's skilled. He's flexible. He's doing taekwondo shit in there. He's flying around, jumping up, throwing kicks. And you're like, how is a guy that's that big able to do that? And he's going in there against a guy with that light heavyweight skill set in Kennedy Nzechukwu to where the lighter guy, when they go up a weight class, you expect the speed to be with that guy. The only thing that concerns me, Kennedy is ungodly slow, man. He is ungodly slow, and he takes forever to open up, and that concerns me in this fight against Chris Barnett because the thing is, Chris Barnett, he's kind of a wild man, but the issue here is Barnett, yeah, he's a big guy and he is a real heavyweight. He's very hittable, and outside of some wild technique landing, I think Kennedy Nzechukwu is going to be one step faster than him. I think he's going to be able to pick him apart a little bit, which sounds kind of crazy because we've seen Kennedy getting picked apart down at lightweight or light heavyweight. But I think him moving up to heavyweight, having a speed advantage, being a little bit more technical than Chris Barnett, I think Kennedy Nzechukwu being a little bit more active, even though some of these decisions haven't went his way and, he's been, in some tough situations. I think he's able to bounce back. I think that we're going to notice a speed advantage here at heavyweight with him moving up. Chris Barnett's been away. I think Kennedy Nzechukwu is able to get this one done. I'm going to go by finish here. I think someone gets finished. I think Kennedy Nzechukwu is able to get it done. Moving on, we have Abus Magomedov taking on Bruno Ferreira. This is interesting here. This is an interesting fight. I'm going Bruno Ferreira by finish because, look, Abus is one of those guys. He's got like one round of cardio. He's basically got one round in him in order to get this thing done. And I don't think Bruno's durable as hell. He's tough. He's physical. The physicality of Bruno is something that we all know about. He's dangerous. He's got good finishing ability. And he's a well-rounded fighter. He's good everywhere. And the way that he likes to move forward, his durability, I think, is going to be his friend in this fight because, look, there's no doubt about it with Abus. He's explosive. He's good on the feet. I know a lot of people, it's very easy to shit on Abu, but he, in all seriousness, man, like, he's a solid fighter. He's got pretty good skills. He's got pretty good striking, but I just feel that Bruno can weather the storm, and then after that first round, if he's able to survive there, because that's Abus's shot to win this, is going to be in the first round. I don't think he gets Bruno out of there, and then as we get into that second and third, I think Bruno pushes the pace, starts to move forward, starts to invest in the body, start to land some of those shots, come upstairs, and get Abus out of there, kind of the way Sean Strickland was able to melt him. I can see that happening in this fight with the durability, the power, and the tenacity of Bruno Silva. I think it's going to be a little bit of a nightmare for Abus in this matchup. I'm going Bruno. Moving on, we have Said Nurmagomedov and Daniel Santos. Love this matchup, right? You got Daniel Santos, very skilled, very well-rounded, good on the feet here. And then you have Said Nurmagomedov, good on the feet, man, good grappling. I think Saeed is able to get this one done. I think that the way that he will be able to strike with Daniel on the feet, mix in the grappling, keep him reactive, keep him guessing is going to be a little bit too much for Santos in this matchup. But look, I think Saeed is going to do that. He's going to continue to mix things up. And when you have the grappling threat, when you're able to strike pretty good on the feet, but you're backed by good grappling, makes you reactive, keeps you guessing. Shots tend to land that maybe you normally wouldn't because you're so reactive. I think Nurmagomedov is able to get this one done. I'm going to go by a submission here. I think he's able to get Santos out of there with a sub. This is actually, I think we see a finish either way, but I think Saeed's able to get this one done. Moving on. This is an outstanding matchup right here between Maidatek Orolbai and Mateusz Rebecki. This is a great matchup because with Orolbai, this is a dude that when you watch him fight, first of all, this dude looks like he came from the Ice Age. This dude looks like he's riding woolly mammoths or something. I mean, this dude is a specimen. He looks like he's in a time capsule from like the Ice Age, dude. He is he's an interesting dude, but not only that, he's a savage. He's got good striking. He's rangy. He utilizes his long tools really well, and he's got good grappling. And the way he likes to push you up against the fence, he kind of likes to just crush your space and take that away from you. It's grueling. It's tiring. It's exhausting. But it kind of worries me a little bit here because I am going to go Orolbai. I think that he's able to get this one done by decision, but I think he's going to have to weather a storm here because with Rebecki, this is a low center of gravity dude. He's a giant ball of muscle. He's explosive. He's got crazy power. He swings for the fucking bleachers in there, which is a little bit of a problem for him because we saw that in his last outing. If you're able to weather the storm, if you're able to make him wear that gas tank out, you make him tired, you can pick him apart, and you can kind of bully him around in there. I think that's what we see in this matchup. I think Orolbai looks to grapple early and often. I think he's going to try to fight behind the long strikes, and I think that he's able to wear on Rebecki in this fight to drag it into the later rounds, maybe get him out of there. I don't know because Rebecki is very durable, but outside of that, I think Orolbai is able to at least win a decision here. I feel very confident in this because of the fact that Rebecki, I can't trust his gas tank. When you're that explosive, when you're that powerful for the weight class, yes, it's fun to watch because he could put anybody's lights out in the division. There's no question there, but I think when you're talking about Orolbai, a guy who's this well-rounded, has the grappling, I think it's troubling for Rebecki. I got Orolbai getting this one done. Moving on. We have Jeff Neal versus RDA Rafael dos Anjos. I kind of went back and forth here, right? Because both guys are kind of getting up there in age. With RDA, he's been around for forever. He's been around since the dinosaurs were roaming the earth, man. I mean, he's been in the UFC it's been a long time. He's got a wealth of experience, 32 wins, 16 losses. The thing with RDA, the bouncing around of the weight classes has kind of been weird, right? He's been at 55, he's been here, he's been there, he's been 170. And so it kind of looked like sometimes he looks too small in there, sometimes he looks big in there and physical and just dominant. And so you never kind of know what you're getting with an RDA fight other than the fact that you know he's never going to give up on himself. His striking has always been pretty solid, and the grappling of RDA is definitely where he shines. But that's kind of the problem in this fight. It's Jeff Neal. Jeff has outstanding boxing. He's got very good footwork, very good movement, and he's never sitting still. And when you're not sitting still, it's hard to get a hold of you. It's hard to just drag you up against the fence. It's hard to just kind of stall the fight a little bit. And Jeff Neal's good in the clinch. He's got good tight boxing. And I think RDA, his striking is a little sloppy. It's not very clean. I think Jeff Neal's going to find some good clean shots. I think he's going to float around on the outside. He kind of just dances around. And this looks like Jeff Neal, man. He's kind of in there, just dancing around in there. He's got good straight punches, and I do believe he's going to be able to hurt RDA. Can he get him out of there? I don't know that he's able to get him out of there because RDA is durable, but if Jeff Neal cannot stop the takedowns, RDA will win this fight by decision. He will control Jeff Neal. He will wear on the gas tank, and I can see RDA winning a decision there, but I think Jeff Neal wins this fight. I think that the footwork, the timing, the angles, the boxing of Jeff Neal, and he's coming off a loss to Ian Gary, who is a dude that's showing he is very, very good in this weight class. He's actually a really well-rounded fighter. We saw the grappling against MVP, and you saw how close that fight was with Ian Gary there. You saw how he was able to, to do very well against Shavkat Rakhmonov, and that is the top of the heap at 170. And Neal's got good strength. He's good at fighting off, the clinch. And if you do take him down, he's good at popping back up. I think this is a hard fight for RDA. I got Jeff Neal winning this one by decision, outpointing him and picking him apart. Moving on, we have Shara Magomedov taking on Armen Petrosyan. Now, I feel like I'm going to say this every time we get to see Shara fight, and that is, I'm just I'm not sold on this guy, right? Like, I'm not sold on him. Like, he's 14-0. He's got the look. I call him Redbeard the Pirate. Like, he's a scary looking dude. His voice, everything about him is kind of like, he's very marketable, right? He's very entertaining. He's fun to watch. He's got this very, like, unique kick-heavy approach. He's got a lot of holes in the boxing, but he is fun to watch, right? He's got good kicks. He's fun to watch on the feet. The problem is the boxing, man. I keep talking about with this guy. If you find a good boxer that will move forward, not be afraid to close the distance, and just bite down, tuck their chin, and throw straight shots down the middle, they're gonna knock Shara the hell out. They're gonna knock him the hell out because he loves to kind of float around on the back foot defensively. Obviously, like, there are some vision issues there, with the eye, so which maybe that has something to do. I'm just saying maybe that has something to do with a little bit of the boxing defense. But he is an outstanding striker through and through. Outstanding. He improves every time we see there. The takedown defense has gotten better. Armin Petrosyan's not a world beater, man. He doesn't have the greatest power. He goes to a bunch of decisions, which to me, that shows a lot of promise here for Shara Magomedov, because if there's someone with great boxing power and they go in there with power in their hands, they can put Shara out, because he kind of drifts back on the back foot, throws lazy hooks, and you can land a good shot on his chin and starch him. But I don't think Armin is the guy. But as Shara starts to move up, in this division, I worry for him, man, given some of the holes in the boxing there. But I think that the kick-heavy style, he's going to be able to just kind of pick at Armin with the kicks, mix up the targets, leg, body, head. I think Shara Magomedov's well-rounded enough at this point, compared to a guy like Armin, to where Armin, I don't think that his grappling is going to trouble Shara too much. I got Shara getting this one done by decision. Moving on. We have Magomed Ankalaev and Aleksandar Rakic. This is a great matchup. I do fear that maybe this could be a little bit of a staring contest, to where maybe it takes a while for these guys to get going, because there's a lot at stake here, right? Rakic is coming off of a KO loss at UFC 300 to Yuri Prohaska. He was away for a while with an injury before that. He's coming off a KO here. And then Magomed Ankalaev, who's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, one of my favorite fighters in the division. He is an absolutely spectacular fighter. He is an elite fighter at the top of the division. He should have been fighting for the title. However, it just seems like the UFC is giving him a hard matchup here for, just to kind of be spiteful towards Magomed, but we'll leave that aside. This is a hard fight for Magomed. It is, and I'm picking Magomed to win this by KO because I believe in this guy. His striking is outstanding. His wrestling is very good, but I've been saying this before, everyone thinks that he's like some Habib in terms of the grappling. Like, Magomed's going in there, taking people down, mauling them, and just submitting everybody, vicious ground and pound. That is not his style, right? He resorts to the grappling if things aren't going his way on the feet, like we saw against Jan Blachowicz. But he has outstanding boxing. He's got really good timing, really good pull counters, really good hand speed, and the way that he is able to throw those shifting combinations to where he moves forward, lands those good hooks. We saw that against Johnny Walker. He has the power to put anybody out in this division. That's why I want to see him versus Poatan, because I believe that someone would get KO'd. I believe that would be not only a great matchup, one of the biggest light heavyweight fights of all time outside of DC versus John Jones. So the way that that's kind of building up, great matchup. But stylistically here, Ankalaev does a very good job against leg kicks, right? I know against Aleksandar Rakic, this is going to be unique, because Aleksandar Rakic is, he's a guy that has really good leg kicks, but he doesn't have good power in his hands. And for whatever reason, to be that big and not have power in your hands, it's just weird. It's very weird and interesting to me to be that big and that brute and that powerful, but not have the greatest power in your hands. And I think that that's going to be the issue here, is he just got KO'd. He's going to be a little too tentative, to where Magomed can kind of work that rear leg kick to the body, to the head, kind of keep him, on alert. Magomed's able to close him down, land some of the good boxing. And again, if he needs to resort to the grappling, maybe he's able to take Rakic down, but Rakic is strong. He's got good grappling of his own, and I do believe the way Rakic throws the leg kicks is not the same as Poatan. He loads up on them. They're very telegraphed, and Ankalaev's got good leg kick defense, right? I know that people point out the Jan Blachowicz fight. That's Jan Blachowicz. He's got some of the best leg kicks in the game, some of the best leg kick defense in the game. Rakic is not that sound technically when it comes to the striking as a guy like Jan Blachowicz. I think Magomed Ankalaev, it starts boring. You're going to see both guys very tentative because, again, a title shot on the line. The UFC and Dana White, they don't want to give this guy the shot, man. So Ankalaev's going to have to go in there and do something impressive. That's why I think he's going to go in there and not look to grapple at all, which maybe that gets him in some trouble. I don't think it does. I think he goes in there and brutally KOs Aleksandar Rakic inside of 2 rounds. Starts slow, builds quickly. I think Ankalaev gets this one done. Moving on. we have Lerone Murphy versus Dan 50K Ige. I love this matchup. I was hoping they were going to be able to get Ige on the spear for stepping in and taking on Diego Lopez on short notice at International Fight Week. But putting that aside, this is an unbelievable fight, man. Because when you talk about Lerone Murphy, he's one of the prospects out of the UK right now that when you watch him fight, you're like, this guy could possibly be a champion at some point. He's well-rounded. He's got very clean striking. He's got good grappling. The way he's able to switch things up on the feet. He's got good timing, good hands, good kicks. Very complete fighter. And then when you look at Dan Ige, he's been in there with some of the who's who in the division, and he's got outstanding power. He's got good boxing. He's got good grappling, and the power of Dan Ige, man, you got to watch it, because if he's able to slip a shot and fire off a right hand, he'll put your lights out. And I got to be honest, I'm worried for Lerone in this fight. I think that there's a real shot that Dan Ige could KO him if Lerone decides to only stand and strike. Because look, I understand Murphy was able to pick apart Edson Barboza. That is very much a shell of the Edson that we know from back in the day. I think we can all agree on that. So to go in there and outbox Edson Barboza, it's not that impressive to me, because Barboza has always kind of had a deficiency in the boxing. He's got great kicks, but if you can smother the range, if you can kind of mix things up a little bit, that has been the recipe to beat Edson Barboza. I think Lerone Murphy comes in with a very similar game plan here against Dan Ige, looks to kind of mix things up, resort to some of the grappling to keep Dan Ige guessing and kind of win the fight similar to Diego Lopez. I know that Murphy and Lopez are very different, right? Lopez is very dangerous. He's got the grappling. He's got ferocious power. But the technicality of Lerone Murphy, the fight IQ, the way he mixes things together, I think he's just going to kind of pick at Dan Ige and win a decision here. But if we see a finish, I think Dan Ige is able to land a good shot on the chin, and it would result in a Dan Ige KO. But I think Lerone Murphy's a little too patient, a little too technical. I think he's able to get this one done. Moving on. Co-main event of the evening, man. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. This is a fight that was supposed to take place back in June. I've been dying to see this fight, man. I gotta see Khamzat in there at middleweight. I gotta see him against Robert Whittaker, because this is definitely the hardest fight in Khamzat's career. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is the hardest fight of Khamzat Chimaev's career by a mile. I know he fought Kamaru Usman on short notice, and Usman is an outstanding fighter. It was short notice, right? Which Khamzat took a different opponent on short notice, but Usman didn't have a full camp, and then you have the Gilbert Burns fight, and it's like, well, the weight cut was draining on Khamzat. There's no excuses coming into this one. I expect we see the best version of Khamzat we have ever seen. I expect him to look explosive. I expect him to not be drained. I expect him to look absolutely spectacular. But will that be enough to beat, in my opinion, maybe, I know he won the belt and he's lost to Izzy. He's one of the greatest middleweights of all time. Robert Whittaker, he's so skilled. He's so well-rounded. He's got power. He's got footwork. He's got timing. He's got speed. He's just got everything. He's got good grappling. But to me, what this comes down to is this. If this fight, this is a 5-rounder. This is a 5-round co-main event, which is, that's crazy to me, because look, Khamzat, this guy doesn't have cardio for 3 rounds is what it looks like, right? So if he doesn't get it done in the first 2 rounds, well, it's got to heavily favor Robert Whittaker, right? Which I think is absolutely fair in this. But when Khamzat takes Robert Whittaker down, it's going to be a problem for Robert. We've seen Yoel Romero be able to take him down. We've seen Jacare, give Whittaker some issues. And yes, Robert Whittaker is able to pop right back to his feet. Yes, Yoel Romero is an outstanding wrestler, but the grappling of Chimaev is different. The way that he strings everything together, the way he triangles your legs, the way he's able to get to the body lock, he takes your back, the way he's able to just Grammy roll. He's spectacular with the grappling. Like, he is a specialist in the grappling. But where I think Khamzat wins this fight is I think that he's able to submit Robert Whittaker, but it's going to be the fact that Robert's going to be so reactive to Khamzat that it's going to open up the striking. And I think that we've already seen some footage of Khamzat out there training southpaw, and I've been telling you guys, Robert Whittaker does not see the straight shots out of the southpaw stance. I don't know why that is. If you watch against Darren Till, if you watch against Gastelum, watch when Izzy went southpaw. Darren Till, those straight left hands down the middle, they land on Robert Whittaker. The power jab of Dracus du Plessis that was able to get him out of there when DDP went southpaw. I think we see Khamzat implement that into this game, into the game plan. I think he feints level changes. Robert's reactive. Khamzat clips him with a shot, rings his bell, because at the end of the day, we all love Bobby Knuckles, I feel, man. But look, guy's chinny. He is chinny. You got to be, come on, man. He is chinny. And if he gets clipped with a good shot here, I see him being on wobbly legs, because the one thing about Khamzat, he has some of the most underrated striking in the division and in the UFC. When people talk about Khamzat, they're like the fast-paced grappling, the grappling. How about the hands? He's got crazy power. He's got some good leg kicks. He's got a good body kick, a good front kick up the middle. And I think that those are all tools that he's going to have to utilize in this fight. Because if Khamzat's just coming into this to bank on just wrestling Whittaker to death, I don't think that happens, because I think Khamzat, yes, he does a good grappling, but that will wear on his gas tank. And this is 5 rounds. He's going to have to be conservative with the energy, because I can tell you this: if this fight plays out on the feet for 5 rounds and we don't see any grappling at all, Robert Whittaker's going to tune Khamzat up like a guitar, man. He's going to tune him up. He's going to be going bing, 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 just setting him up with shots. And you saw against Ikram Aleksandar. Ikram is a very, very good fighter. He was a deer in headlights against Whittaker. I sat up here and I told you guys, everyone's like, oh my God, Ikram, he's going to go in there and KO Whittaker. And I'm like, dude, he's going to be a deer in headlights. Whittaker is just a step ahead of a lot of guys in the division. That was a huge step up for Ikram. And yes, Khamzat Chimaev has KO'd Ikram. And yes, Ikram is a talented fighter. Khamzat is a step above Ikram, in my opinion. So to say that this is going to be similar to the Ikram fight, I don't think so. But I can tell you this: the Robert Whittaker that showed up against Ikram, if that guy, that same dude with his feet dug in, that angry look in his face, feinting, setting up straight shots down the middle, I don't know if Khamzat wins the fight. If that guy that Robert Whittaker that showed up against Ikram there, if he shows up at UFC 308, I don't know that Khamzat wins the fight. But however, I'm going Khamzat to win this thing. I think he's able to hurt Robert on the feet. I think he's able to take him down. I think he's able to get a submission inside of 2 rounds, because I'm telling you guys, I'm a massive Chimaev fan. If he does not win this fight inside of 2 rounds, I think Robert Whittaker is able to get him out of there by finish, man, because we've seen against Gilbert Burns, we've seen against Kamaru Usman, as the fight plays out, Chimaev is very dominant in the first round. And I think if you're Whittaker, you're like, look, if I could just survive the first round, weather the storm, Chimaev will be tired. I have the experience here. I'm the veteran. I'm one of the best middleweights of all time. I'm still in there beating some of the best guys in the weight class. I have a title shot, possibly here if I can beat Khamzat. Robert Whittaker is going to come in pissed off, motivated, angry. You hear him in the countdown. You hear him in these interviews. He's like, I got a point to prove. I think Robert Whittaker is going to look very dangerous, but I think that the striking of Khamzat is what's going to win him this fight. I think the striking of Khamzat is going to hurt Whittaker. He's going to make him reactive. We're going to see a patient Chimaev, and I'm telling you guys right now, we have to see the best Chimaev we have ever seen to win this fight. I believe we see it. Chimaev gets this one done inside 2 rounds. Woo! Last but not least, man. Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. I've been talking about this fight on my channel. I told you guys, this is my what John Jones is to Dana White has been this matchup for me. Guys, I am a fight nerd. I love breaking down film. I love watching boxing. I love watching, the technicalities. Ilia with that Canelo style, Holloway with the Muay Thai long range, the way he was able to pick apart Gaethje. I sat up here for months. I took a lot of heat from the community. I said, Max Holloway is not only going to beat Justin Gaethje, he's going to finish him. And everyone's like, you're an idiot. You're out of your mind. You're delusional. You're just a diehard Holloway fan. You're coping. Guys, Justin Gaethje is very sloppy. He's very exciting to watch. He has made improvements defensively, but if you tag Gaethje and you frustrate him, he dips his head and does a lot of this. He gets very reckless. He loads up on shots. I mean, for God's sake, he's throwing punches and swinging and missing and falling to his knees because he's over swinging against Charles Oliveira. And we've seen he gets a little flustered and he gets a little reckless when things are not going his way, and he gets frustrated by speed. Max Holloway was way faster than him. He was picking him apart basically the entire time. And again, that fight's a little overrated, right? It was a masterclass performance by Holloway. He did a great job. He was able to mix things up. But again, it wasn't this, crazy, like, oh my God, war that everyone's talking about. It was a technical masterclass by Holloway. And you might say, why do you keep talking about that? Because people say, well, Max Holloway did that to Justin Gaethje, so he's just going to go do that to Ilia Topuria. Guys, Ilia Topuria is way better than Justin Gaethje defensively. Way better than Justin Gaethje. Offensively, Gaethje's got nasty leg kicks. He's got pretty decent head movement. He's got power in his hands. And yes, he's the human highlight. He's like everyone's favorite fighter at this, or he's like your favorite fighter's favorite fighter, or whatever they say. Gaethje is very dangerous. The fight like that, against a dangerous dude like that, I believe is only going to give Max Holloway confidence coming into this. The problem I have, guys, is look, Topuria is a monster. He's an absolute monster. He's undefeated. And what we are looking at in Ilia Topuria, I'm telling you this right now, and so I have this in a video. If Ilia Topuria KOs Max Holloway, which I think he will become the biggest superstar in the sport. I know we still have Conor McGregor, kind of a part of the sport, the most active guy in the most active fighter, because McGregor's not really active. In terms of active fighters, Ilia Topuria will become the biggest star in the organization with a KO victory over Max Holloway in this matchup. I think he gets it done. I think he gets it done, guys, because look, Topuria's got that high guard. He's very compact defensively, and if you go back and you watch these fights, outside of a snappy left high kick landing, you don't hurt Topuria. He doesn't get hurt. He's got a tucked chin, so when you're hitting him with shots, his head's not snapping back, his chin's not snapping the other side, which is how the KOs happen. He's very defensively responsible. He is a better boxer than Max Holloway. He's got better head movement. He has better defense. The way he throws the combinations, everything is with tenacious intensity. He has unbelievable power. I sound like Rogan here. I sound like I'm cutting a promo. He's got a nasty liver shot. He's got a nasty right hook. That right hook he landed on Volk was not lucky. It was one of the nastiest right hooks I've honestly ever seen, the way it was able to KO him. And when you look at Volk, he's got that matador style. He's got good footwork. He's got way better kicks than Max Holloway. And while Holloway does kind of have this Muay Thai style with good hand speed and pretty good movement, he can mix up stances, cut angles. This nuanced version of Holloway is much more favorable to beat a guy like Topuria at this time. But I think Ilia Topuria is that good. I think he's going to invest in the body, which we have not seen anyone really do to Max. They have not targeted the midsection. Try to take the air away from Holloway. Bring his hands down. Wear on that body. He's making another cut down to 45. If this was taking place at 55, I might be picking Max. But with that weight cut, we saw Zombie land shots. We saw Arnold land shots. And the way that Max was able to wear those shots was not the same as it was back in the day. He got dropped by Gaethje. Yes, he looked more durable at 55, but I think that that's where he's at in his career. He needs to be at 55 in terms of the durability, the weight cuts. I think the technicalities and the boxing of Ilia Topuria, he's got outstanding grappling. It's not like Holloway's going to win by grappling in this. So Ilia has the ability to dictate where this fight goes. I think he has the confidence. He has the aura to him right now. I mean, this dude's, he's just firing on all cylinders. He's confident. He believes in himself. He's backing up what he says he's going to do. He says, I'm going to knock out Volk. Goes out and knocks out Volk. And I believe Volkanovski is a harder fight than Max Holloway because what we have seen, yes, Max has taken out the contenders on the rise that have not been able to get that title shot to Volkanovski because Max has been in the way of that. He's had some close fights with some of those prospects. Ilia Topuria, I believe, is one of the greatest featherweights of all time, which with after a few defenses, he will then have the resume to be able to dispute that. I think we're looking at one of the best talents in featherweight history. He's outstanding. His power is dangerous. And outside of a snappy left high kick, which Max does not have, he doesn't have Yair or, Volkanovski-like kicks per se here. I just don't see, I don't think Max wins this fight. He's going to have to avoid, the way I look at this, Max Holloway, he's a bee. You're stepping into a beehive. You're going to be getting stung in multiple different directions. And he's got good knees. He's got that good spinning back kick. He's got some good tools for the guys that like to be very low. I think Topuria will be ready for that. And outside of a nasty spinning back kick landing, busting the nose, affecting the breathing on Topuria, I don't think Max is able to finish him with the hands. I think Topuria's well-roundedness, the power in his hands is going to be too much. The calf kicks of Topuria, I think, will hinder the movement of Holloway. I think Topuria is just that damn good. It's his time, man. He's confident. I just think that he's one of the best featherweights of all time. Time will tell that. I got Topuria by KO. I'm going to say in the third round here. But I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Cannot wait for this card, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell. I appreciate you all. See you next time.